You ready? Call the budget committee to order. There's no citizens communication today. Are we ready to approve the budget minutes? Can I get a motion? That you?
I guess it's just me. Do we have a quorum? Okay, motion.
Any changes, adjustments? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 3-0. We have a budget transfer request, Phoebe.
Yes.
Do we need to get that on the floor first? Or I guess we need to get it on the floor first. David?
Yes. Transfer needs a motion and second.
Motion.
Phoebe?
We're in need of purchasing some equipment that had already been previously approved, some general equipment at the sheriff's office for the detention center. The budget, the quote obviously was a little bit lower than what the actual cost came in. So we were just needing to move $900 from other supplies into office equipment, or I'm sorry, other equipment. And those funds, we do have sufficient funds to cover the transfer.
Has anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 3-0.
That was easy.
First resolution, number 11-24-3, a resolution to request funding for a turf field.
Madam Chairman, you skipped over one on the back side.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was on the back,
Two
okay.
vehicles they're requesting.
Do we need a motion on the vehicles too? All right, Dave.
Motion.
Second transfer.
Phoebe?
The IT department, under the direction of Sean Cochran, is requesting that 2 mechanically sound surplus vehicles be transferred to the IT department for their use. We have identified 2 that came, 2 Durangos that are coming from the sheriff's department, and they are sufficient for their needs. We're just requesting those be moved.
For the commissioner's benefit, the reason we did this is so we track all the vehicles. And any vehicle that goes from one department to another, we track it that way. And it keeps us from buying new vehicles. Oftentimes these used vehicles can be used for dangerous.
All right, anybody, no questions? Not ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 3-0. Our first resolution, number 11-24-3, a resolution to request funding for a turf field at Brentwood Middle School to be included in the 2025-2026 Williamson County budget.
Motion.
Second. Chris, you want to speak to this?
Yes, please. I've been approached by many residents in Brentwood. We're constructing, of course, as all of you know, a new middle school. When they built the STEM building, they eliminated one of the practice fields as they built the parking lot. They have a very little amount of space for practice fields. A lot of the parents.
The TV is not picking you up if you go to the mic.
Sure. Should I start over again? I guess I should. I was approached by a lot of constituents in District 7 about the practice field that is planned for the Brentwood Middle School. Right now it's planned as grass. There's anywhere from 16 to 29 teams that are going to need to use that field. Right now, a lot of that overflow goes over to the Brentwood High School. So both, and this is just particular to Brentwood Middle School and Brentwood High School. They have the smallest campus of anywhere in Williamson County. And because of the tight amount of space, they don't have a lot of extra room for practice fields. So they've asked me that the PTO of Brentwood Middle School and the PTO of Brentwood High School have asked for a turf field instead of a grass field as is currently planned. What I'm asking for is that this be allotted in next year's budget.
Does anybody have any questions?
Madam Chairman, not to the commissioner. Jason, could you come up? Is this in your 5 or 10-year capital plan?
No, sir, it's not. We're actually not asking for it.
You're not asking for this.
No, sir.
And how many middle schools do we have?
We have 11 middle schools.
The year that we did the auditoriums for our school, we kind of had an agreement that what we do for one school, we try to do for all. Has that changed?
No, sir, it hasn't. And actually, Commissioner Richards was good enough to mention to me a couple of months ago this question. And our PTOs have actually not asked us for this. We have a process we go through for capital requests. Our principals make requests of us and we prioritize it. It's not on a priority list, but to your point, if at some point we determined we needed the middle school fields to be turfed, we would set up a strategic plan and do that. Your example of the middle school theaters, it was about a 10 or 11 year process to get funded for all those middle school theaters. We actually just finished that up most recently with Sunset. Another issue with this is we don't have any plans to use this Brentwood middle field for competition. Before we started construction of the new Brentwood Middle School, we had a practice field on the north side of the campus. If you all can visualize that, those of you who've been on the campus as you enter Granny White Park, the STEM building predates that. And so this area is on the inside of a C for the new Brentwood Middle design. It's a little bit larger than an actual football field. And we've concluded based on common space and the practice, the times that we anticipate will be used long-term, having a grass field is actually better than having a turf field in this spot for a practice field. Our design includes irrigating it, putting 12 inches of topsoil, and then putting fescue sod over it. Now, the reality is with sports increasing over time, we may at some point come to you guys with a plan for that. But I got to tell you, the other issues that we see for athletic fields are replacement of high school lights, catching up on some bathrooms, those kinds of things that we anticipate would likely come ahead of starting the process of artificial turf at all our middle school fields.
Thank you.
Did y'all have any questions?
Was there anybody here from the parent teacher that?
They plan to show up the night of the commission meeting.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know this came up because Page's field's been there for a while. And so a lot of people say, how long do these fields really last?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of how long the fields last before they need to be completely replaced?
The artificial turf fields, we are told we can expect between 10 and 15 years use before the artificial turf needs replacement. So there's some variation, obviously, based on use. Nolansville is our oldest one. And Brian, is there any other detail you have related to it right now? So that's the range typically, is what was shared with us when we started this.
And when you mention those fields, those are high school fields?
Yes. Mm-hmm. All of our high school stadium fields, the actual competition fields, have artificial turf. Mm-hmm. And we started that process with Nolansville. And I remember telling you all, hey, the moment we do it on Nolansville, they're all coming. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be able to resist that. And sure enough, they have. Now, that's been very useful, especially with lacrosse coming this year, where we actually have the fields ticked for football, soccer, and lacrosse. So that those can all be played on those artificial turf fields.
Okay. Have we finished all the high schools? All the high schools have turf fields at
Yes.
this point? Okay.
Yes,
Okay. And Nolansville would be the first one that need to be replaced.
that's right.
Right. And how old is the one in Nolansville? Do you know?
Trying to remember off the top of my head when Nolansville opened. 8 years maybe, somewhere around there.
Okay. So not quite long enough to be on
I can tell you when Page opened, but apparently I can't tell you when Nolansville.
That's okay.
Page opened in '76. They're the Patriots. I need a mnemonic device for Nolansville.
I have a question for Chris. You've got the estimated cost for installation. Did you get any kind of bids, or is this just part of it?
No, I talked to Gordon Hampton, the cost that he's put in turf fields.
But you've got installation, does that include the turf too? I guess my issue with this is, I don't like committing money before we're in the budget process. I don't want to think we'd have to raise taxes because of one thing we approved 9 months earlier. This is, way out of the process that we usually do. And I would hope that the school would bring it to us for an individual commissioner, because I wouldn't want every commissioner bringing something to us every time they wanted something for the school system. I think it should go through the superintendent first. Has anybody else got any questions?
Probably just an idea. I mean, if the school, the PTO were to create a capital fund to start raising funds for this, and they wanted to do it that way, is that a possibility?
That is, there's a process for PTOs to make a request of our school board for improvements to our facilities, and we do that from time to time. As an example, what we're getting now is lacrosse walls to bounce balls off of. I'm not aware of anything of 7 figures that's been done by any PTO. I will tell you also, if we had that conversation with the PTO, what I would tell them right now is, let's give this grass a chance and see if it meets our needs, because I want to make sure we do what's best for our students. And right now, our conclusion based on our discussions is having an actual grass area for the practice is best. But to your point, yes, PTOs can do that.
Paige got that huge jumbotron.
Yeah, that's right.
Which everybody loves, and that's really cool. But they did a lot of fundraising.
That's right.
For that jumbotron, which I don't believe every school has.
You're right. Paige, Brentwood, and Ravenwood have gone through the process of selling advertisements to fund the jumbotron. We anticipate that'll happen at all our schools. As an example, Fairview actually started the process with an advertising board, and I think a piece of that triggered, hey, can we take the next step?
When things like that happen, so if the PTO raises the funds for like the jumbotron, do they have to have an agreement with the school that you guys then take over the operational portion of it, the maintenance of it?
Yes,
support?
yes, those became fixtures.
Okay.
Once they became part of the district. So that's part of what we have to analyze too, the potential expenses related to that. In that example, it's used, probably 20, 25 times a year, depending on the sport. And so the utility bills were not significantly different. But we do analyze that.
Okay, ready for a vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? No. So we had 1 for, and 4 against.
Madam Chairman, can I ask the maker of this resolution, I think it's a great idea for all of our middle schools to have these facilities. So let's put it under a capital plan, take it through the schools, so we don't get into this. She wants it for her district, she wants it for her district, and et cetera. Understand, we've done this with our auditoriums, we've done it with turf fields, and I mean, you just look at, would you say 11 middle schools? I mean, we can schedule that out through a capital plan because it'll benefit the community and the parks and recs and all those things with all of that. But I think that would be the way to go.
Okay, thank you.
Just a suggestion.
All right, resolution 11-24-4, resolution for inter-category adjustment of $16,781,543 for approved raise for the 2024-2025 budget year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jason, you want to address this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is moving all of the funding for the raise that the commission approved at the beginning of our budget year to the appropriate line items. No new money.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-24-5, resolution amending the 2024-2025 general purpose school fund budget, $1,461,000 for the purchase of buses.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jason?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is our annual request for budget for bus replacements. Buses have to be retired at either 200,000 miles or 18 years, whichever comes first. We are retiring 10 general education buses based on the requirements this year. We're asking to replace 6 of those rather than 10 because our maintenance staff has become more efficient about rotating buses. However, on the special education side, we are retiring 2 buses, and we have had increased demands for special education transportation, and we are asking for a total of 6. So the net effect is we are retiring a total of 12 and asking for 12. Funding for 12.
See, anybody got any questions?
Madam Chairman, I do. Jason, our numbers have been flat on the schools this year.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Are you telling me our numbers for special education side is increasing?
Yes, sir. We have had an increase in special education numbers, but more importantly to this resolution, for transportation services. The IEP teams, the individualized education teams, decide whether students get the special education transportation. That's not a decision we can make. It has to be made at the team level. We've had an increase in that.
Madam Chairman, if I could follow back up. So in years gone past, and I know it's, what are the sizes of these special education buses?
The special education buses, trying to remember it's going to vary a little bit based on seating. Trying to visualize this. Brian, do you know off the top of your head?
Yes, sir.
I'm just visualizing we pull some seats out for wheelchair tie downs. I'm going to estimate 12, something
students.
like that. We also have a special education transportation assistant on the bus to sit with those students. Sometimes they have physical needs that demand an adult in the moment. But we do have 2 different size special education buses, both of which are noticeably shorter than the general education bus. So I gave you one number, but there's a larger one as well.
Could you, Madam Chairman, if you don't mind, could you contract that out?
Yes, we can contract transportation services out. They have a requirement to meet the same regs as us. Some of our neighbors have contracted transportation services out. I will tell you, generally speaking, my experience with that from those I've spoken to, when you contract transportation services out, you have the same responsibilities with less authority. Because your contractor's making the decisions.
Has anybody else got any questions?
Just a quick question. What is the cost on the special ed versus the normal?
Special education buses have air conditioning, the gen ed buses don't, but there's less steel involved. If I'm not mistaken, there's somewhere around $110,000. I'm sorry, it's gone up a little bit, 120.
Gen Ed or 123.
Okay. So they're very close in cost because of those contrasting differences, 120 to 123,000.
Are we seeing any difference in the lead times now? Supply chain?
It's about 8 months.
So about 8 months?
Yes, ma'am. So it's a little bit better than it was 4 years ago, but it's worse than it was 6 years ago, if that makes sense.
All right, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-24-6, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-25 general sessions budget revenues received in prior fiscal year from state of Tennessee and unappropriated county general fund balance.
Move to approve.
Second.
Phoebe?
Yes, and these are rollover funds. The monies were received in last fiscal year. This is just rolling that remainder of 22,000 over. This is to purchase for electronic monitoring devices.
Has anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-24-7, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-25 Sheriff's Office budget by $127,200 revenue to come from law enforcement training program.
Move to approve.
Second. Sheriff?
This is the second retention grant from the state for all post-certified deputies. and this is your approval to allow us to disseminate that money.
Does anyone have any questions? Am I correct that this is not just for every deputy, they have to meet certain qualifications?
Correct. I think it pertains to their post-certification in the previous year.
Okay.
There's a third one forthcoming that's just for SROs, but that's still in the process.
Okay, thank you. Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 1124-8, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a letter of agreement with the State of Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration and appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 Sheriff's Office budget by $190,136 revenues to come from grant funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Sheriff?
Well, 40 years, this is my first grant that I applied for and received. So we have received a little over $190,000 that will go toward mental health transports. So anytime we have to move a prisoner from one facility to another, that money will be, they charge the insurance first, assuming they have insurance. If they don't have insurance, then we fund that, but then it will be brought back to us through these grant funds.
How long is this time period? Is this just for 1 year? If it's not used fully in a year, do you have to refund? How does that work?
That's my expectation. I think that's the way it works.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, can you use the salary of the driver as part of that reimbursement, or is it a flat fee here?
Well, it's a fee. It's not going to be our driver. So they're going to come pick them up. They're going to transport them, and that money would be used to pay for that service. So it frees up our resources too. Or if we weren't the ones transporting, then this will give us the funds that we weren't previously receiving through a grant.
Yes.
So do we know about how much like a trip like that would cost? I imagine it
Depends on the depends on the
Like
facility, but it can be very costly, and you know that's a pretty sizable number, as you can see. So what we did is we pulled all of the CAD numbers for the number of transports. And I don't have that information with me. I should have bought it, but we have quite a few transports. We had to report those numbers to qualify for the grant, and then we had to do our first quarter reporting. I didn't bring those. Jennifer, did you by chance bring those? We didn't bring those, but it was surprising to see how many transports that we actually do. And these funds will obviously save the county a substantial amount of money.
So this is almost like what you spent last fiscal year on the transport, so that was kind
No,
of.
I wouldn't say that because again, I don't know how they calculated how much we were eligible for, but we submitted the numbers in the application that showed how many transports that we would have been eligible for last year, and I'm assuming that's how they came up with this number of 190. I can't say that that would have been the total cost. I don't know that to be a fact.
Thank you for getting this grant done. But anybody else got questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 1124-9, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant contract with the Tennessee State Museum on behalf of the Williamson County Archives and Museum and appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 Archives and Museum budget by $30,492 revenue to come from state grant funds.
Move to approve.
Bradley, do you want to come and speak on this? Or are you, Kevin? Are you doing this? Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair, I've got this. Basically, we did an estimate for what the flooring cost to redo the flooring, which is aged out at the Archives 5 Points with Becca Flooring, who we've got a state contract with, and that was the amount that it came to, and that was the amount that we submitted for the grant, and it came back approved.
Great. Has anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 1124-10, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 library budget by $2,500 revenues to come from donations and memorials.
Move to approve.
Second.
We need to get up.
Oh, I thought, no, did you want to speak to?
That's just a
You
donation.
need to go up to the, it's been.
That is a donation that we received from an organization called Autism Tennessee, and we're going to use those funds to purchase some sensory-friendly items and create a sensory-friendly space in our children's area with that money.
See, anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against?
Stay up.
Passes 5-0. Resolution 112411, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 library budget by $27,400 revenue to come from donations and memorials.
Move to approve.
Second.
This is a donation from our library foundation. $20,000 of this is specifically earmarked for the 2025 summer reading program, and the remainder is earmarked for various other initiatives that we've discussed that they've approved. So,
Anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Thank you. Resolution 112412, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development and appropriating and amending the 2024-25 Office of Public Safety budget not to exceed $450,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Would you like to explain this, please?
I would like to, thank you. So this is actually a pretty exciting project that we are working on in collaboration with Vanderbilt University, where we're going to be working with them to build an artificial intelligence model to look at routing for school buses. So there's a lot of data that's available through our computer-aided dispatch system, utility providers who are doing work in the roads, all this information that we're going to use to build this model that's going to reroute in real time our school buses to take them away from closed intersections, traffic crashes, trees down, so that we can more efficiently move students throughout the county. It's a collaborative agreement between us and Vanderbilt, all the municipalities in the county, county schools, Franklin Special School District, and is a pretty great project that we all are working together on to move school buses around more efficiently, and also to notify parents. Part of this will be a built-in notification module so the parents have a better understanding of where their kids are when they'll be being dropped off.
Anybody got any questions?
Madam Chairman, I assume because we do have a resolution where you've got to do the memorandum of understanding, correct, legal?
That's correct.
So this is just the money side, and then the next one will be the arrangement that between Vanderbilt, Franklin
correct.
Special School, Williamson County Schools, and whoever else.
Exactly.
Any more questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
why is it going through the public safety department? Nothing's right with the schools. I'm just curious.
Yeah, we just took it on as a convening entity. It's, not my project. It's a shared effort, and we're just the ones helping to organize with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt previously did an artificial intelligence pilot with Davidson County 911 to work on their non-emergency calls that are coming in, to have them automatically routed and go through essentially a sort of a robot call taker. So that's how we were connected with them, was through Davidson County 911. So we were sort of the first phone call. But
So they reached out to us and said, hey, do you want to do this with us?
Correct.
Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
What is the time frame for this project? When do you expect to have kick it off and have?
It's an aggressive timeline. We want to have it up and running by the next coming school year, at the end of the summer. And it depends a little bit on the different modules and features that it's going to have. We're still a little bit in the exploratory phase of the project, but that's the goal.
And who's actually designing it then?
It's a team with Vanderbilt University of incredibly smart PhD students and some of their leadership that's putting this together, who I'd have to learn many new words to understand half of what they're talking about.
Well, this is kind of my language, so that's what I was interested in. Thanks.
They may have their quarterback running.
You never know, you're smart there.
I do have a question. So it's a project and it's a grant and it's something that, is exploratory, but is there any indication, after the pilot, if there would be ongoing kind of maintenance or costs or anything like that?
Yeah, this is, if successful, is definitely something that we would want to sustain. And Vanderbilt builds these projects. They've done a lot of these projects in the past, and they build that into the project planning to make sure that it's something that doesn't fall off once it's handed over. So they try to front end load all of the infrastructure and work ahead of time so that maintenance is pretty minimal. But if it's successful, we see cost savings and we see benefits for everything to retention of bus drivers who are going to, hopefully enjoy this technology. They're a huge stakeholder. Obviously, we want it to work with and for them. So they're going to be savings built into it as well. But we'll have that in mind throughout.
Sure.
All right, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-2413, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute agreements with certain organizations providing opioid and abatement services and appropriating funds for those services. Appropriations to come from opioid abatement funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam Chairman, let Phoebe discuss this. We know I'm on the committee, she can talk about the numbers and how we got here.
So this is the second year for the opioid grants that the county has issued. These are funds that we've been receiving throughout the year. We have available a little over $1.3 million. The task force has gone through, we, I think, received probably double the amount of requests this year, which was great. We have taken a look at those through the help of MTSU and evaluating those and scoring those. We have found, this is the first round. We would like to go ahead and award the $776,115. We do have 3 or 4 others that we are still gathering some information on, so they may be coming in next month for the additional monies. But this is some new ones. You can see some familiar faces. But that first section, you can see we are branching out. I think Oak Cottage for women is new this year. Behavioral health, Columbia Heights. So we've actually broadened and had a lot more interest, which is great that we're putting this money back in the community.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-2414, a resolution requesting the 114th session of the Tennessee General Assembly to allocate 1/2 of the real estate transfer tax to the county where the tax was collected on a reoccurring basis.
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam Chairman, if I could, ask Paul to come up, and he's the sponsor of this. This was a conversation, I'm gonna give credit to Jeff Moser and Wilton looking at one of the themes we've had over the last 2 or 3 years is to do more business in grants and do more business, finding more ways to increase our revenue side of county general, and I know schools are involved. This one has been around a few years, but I'll let Paul dig into it because several of you were at the meeting over at Murfreesboro a couple of weeks ago, and the mayors have taken this on so that we can get this pushed out to all the counties so we can get it to the general session for their consideration.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Chair, what this does is we already collect a fee on property transfers. And it's going, what we're asking for is that 37 cents per 100, that we get part of it back. And in the packet, if you go to that last page, you'll see Williamson County down there. It shows the history of the tax that has been collected. And so if we took half of that, if you go to the right, from left to right, you'll see that $28 million. That's the 4-year average. So half of that's $14 million. And in our case, that could be as much as 7+ cents of the property tax that could come to us. Now, that's not reducing the fee. This is an existing tax that's already there that the state has. And so we're just asking them to share that, not only with us, but for all counties.
Any questions?
Am I reading this right, that we pay in more than any other county in the whole state?
If you look at this number here, we're pretty close. Shelby County is only 21 $0.7 million. And so there is some revenue to be had there if we get the legislature to pass this.
This is a great thing.
Yeah.
Don't count it yet.
Higher, Hamilton's higher, Shelby's
Does
higher.
Hamilton hire?
So this is money we already pay as part of a real estate sales tax that we pay to the
No,
state?
when you sell property and you record the deeds, there's a 37 cent per $100 conveyance tax that is charged at the time they record the deed. It goes into your closing cost. That money right now is all going to the state.
Okay.
This is asking them to return half of that to us for governmental services.
Is this ongoing or is this just for this year? So ongoing, we're basically asking them to, or we're gonna ask them to send it back to us, or is there a way just to reduce that fee?
It's our money, we'd like some of it back.
I agree, 100%. But is there a way to like just lower the fee so that we don't have to pay it to begin with?
That would be
We don't have
another
to wait and ask for it to come
statutory
back?
change. This is just dealing with the dissemination of the money, not with the tax itself.
Okay. Is that on the general session for this year to possibly look at reducing that tax so we don't have to ask?
I don't know, well, we don't know what the bill's been filed, but if we pass this, we'll definitely ask our delegation to sponsor it.
Yep,
And this is going through other counties as well. We're not the only one.
right.
Follow up, just one other comment, Madam Chairman, that I failed to give Sherry Anderson upstairs, the register deeds credit. Several years ago, we've all looked at this when you was there. You can't add a new tax on at the local level. That's one approach. We're not doing this. This is no new tax dollars. It is asking because the legislators keep bragging about they're flush with money. We'll send somebody back down here.
So really lowering it wouldn't do it any good, because really it would be collected. So collecting it and getting it back. Okay, got it.
And this is built into, as Jeff said, this is built into the law.
And you have to be let me remind everyone to be cautious, because as the economy goes up, it also goes down. And so if there are fewer property transfers, this is not a guaranteed amount. So you got to be very careful about how, if this were to pass, how you would budget. This is not necessarily recurring funds.
But it is not just new construction. And as appreciation goes up, the value of that 37 cents goes up. And our values, our appreciation has obviously been significant over the last few years, which is why the number is so high.
Sounds good. Hope we did it. Is everybody ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-2415, resolution authorizing Williamson County Mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with Vanderbilt University.
Move to approve.
Okay.
And this was for the previous opioid. No,
No.
no, this is different, never
This is
mind.
the,
450.
This
This is
the
the transit,
AI.
yeah. We got too many deals with Vanderbilt. Does anybody have any questions about this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nobody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-2417, resolution approving a new compliance officer position for the Williamson County DUI Recovery Court.
move to approve.
Phoebe, you want to speak on this?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. This is a grant that was previously approved last month. We have already been awarded the funds. The grant was approved to appropriate in the budget. The caveat to that we didn't realize until after the fact is it's also to fund a position. This is just to get that position in, allowing us to create this position. This is also based on 3 years, so this position will only be funded while the grant is active. So once this grant is complete, the position will then roll off. This will not be a ongoing unless they receive the grant, obviously, again.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-2418, resolution to adopt the amended Williamson County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan conditioned on approval from FEMA and authorize the county mayor to sign all documentation required to maintain compliance for the purpose of qualifying for certain federal grants.
Move to approve.
Second.
Would you like to speak now on this?
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the county hazard mitigation plan, which comes before this body every 5 years. It comes before the commission every 5 years. The hazard mitigation plan is essentially the county's strategic plan for how we mitigate the effects of damage to property, loss of life, impacts to the environment from the hazards that our community faces, flooding, tornadoes, extreme winter weather, extreme heat and drought, those sorts of things. So this plan lays out our strategy for how we in the municipalities will mitigate and be resilient against those threats. And this plan, importantly, makes us eligible for hazard mitigation funding through the Federal Emergency Management Agency and makes us eligible as part of the National Flood Insurance Program.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-2420, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a lease agreement with the Franklin Lions Club for lease of space in the County Community Services Building.
Motion approved.
Second.
Who want? Phoebe, you want?
I
Oh,
think I
Terry.
can get these.
Okay.
Questions?
Just quickly, like, is this a renewal?
No, this is a new request. This is 2 suites that came available, and they had their name on the list, and Rogers reviewed them, interviewed them, and they accepted the positions.
Okay. Do we have an idea of like the amount of space and what we're
Yes,
using it
ma'am.
for?
If you look at that column there, it's got square foot. The operational cost is $2.59 per square foot for the facility. And the lease amount that our county mayor has put is listed on there. And they're projected 15 November, if approved by the commission. So that's 2 suites, 117 and 118, 378 square feet total.
Any questions?
I'm sorry. Do we meet the operational expenses with the leases that we have?
If you look at the bottom of the 2 right columns, the overall lease per year that we are receiving is $45,000. The operational cost is $67,000. So we are not.
I have a question, I guess, for you, Mayor. Is there a way to possibly break even? I know a lot of these are nonprofits. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So if you look at this list, is there a way for us to possibly look at the leases and see if we can at least cover the operational cost for the building?
Yeah, I'm looking down through these, there are some of them, they are 501c3s. Most of them are nonprofits. We can give you an estimate if you all, I mean, some of them, if we were to raise the rents on them, you have to remember that building was built a long time ago to serve the community, and for the most part, it does. But I can go back through, I guess, and, is that what you want, Commissioner?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be, at least have a break even for the cost of it, to be able to look at, so I guess I know one of the things that you look at is you like to look at the tenants, ability to pay, and then also the service they're providing to the community. So I don't know if we could just look at this list and possibly see if it, the rent hasn't gone up in the first 20 years it's been there. Is there a possibility that we could work with these nonprofits to see if first of all, if there's an ability for them to pay more?
That's what you want me to do, I'll be glad to do it.
I'd like to say something. I guess, this has always been a caring county and a caring commissioner. We're one of the wealthiest counties in the United States, and surely to goodness, we could help some of the people that are not as fortunate. You know, I'd hate to see some of these people move out and not be able to serve people that really need this help because of the price. I mean, I don't think it's gonna make or break this county. We are so fortunate here. We should help take care of some that are not so fortunate.
I have a question. What is the difference? Like, how does one organization get charged $18,000 a year, and one gets charged 25? And I know dollars a year, and I know there is a reason and there's a difference. But like, how is that decision made?
So some of these, Commissioner, are old prices. The 18 you're referring to is the Red Cross. I guess they've been down there since day one, and they wanted a spot down there so they could be prepared when the Red Cross is called upon. Now, at one time, they had 2 big rooms down there, if I remember correctly, and they're just down to 1 room now. But they're very seldom there, and they allow some of the others to use that, but that's a benefit the Red Cross feels. I'm putting words in their mouth, that they want to help these other communities, if that's the one you're looking at.
And just an extreme example of differences.
And they understand that. I mean, they're constantly, asking for funds. The community child care, the other one that you look at down at nearly to the bottom, I don't know how many children. You know how many children are in there?
They've got approximately 40 children that they have with four basic classrooms that they work out of, Mr. Mayor.
And probably some of their clients, any increase would be a challenge for them, and we have to pass it on to them. The Boys and Girls Club, I mean, they're always having fundraisers to do the things they need for their constituents. I mean, I hear you, it makes sense from a business model, and you ask how we came up with these. Some of these were here, and we just left them. The other is try to cover some of our costs with the understanding that the building was built long before I got here to try to help the community where we could help them.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Tennessee Environmental Government Agency,
You need to go up to the microphone, we can't hear you.
Well, don't go away. Tennessee Environmental Government, there's one, number 3 is the Tennessee and Governmental Environmental Agency, and looks like they're not paying anything. I'm just asking why.
Is that the one that just moved out?
They are, no, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, they're our government agency. They do our restaurant inspections. They
That's
work
right.
with Kathy Montgomery, so they're a government entity that has space there.
Are they part of the county government?
They're part of state government, but they
Oh, they like
fall under
public.
Kathy Montgomery.
The public health department has state and county employees. Remember that? Your days? So one of those employers goes out and makes inspections throughout our whole county, and that's where their office is.
Why wouldn't the state pay rent? Is it?
Again, you need to go to the microphone. Sorry.
Why doesn't the state pay rent?
I don't know the answer.
Madam Commissioner, I would love if they would, but that's not the way it works. And
So the state can just come in and plop down and we have to,
we have to have
House them.
certain things inspected. It's by law.
right?
And so we're trying to make it convenient for them to get to our residents and their small businesses so they can make the inspection so these people can stay open or get open.
I think the state should pay for it. That's my opinion.
Just probably one comment, and like I said, it's their ability to, so that's what I would want to review, not necessarily forcing a rent increase. But I also know that if you're able to at least, I don't know how the the different foundations are decided upon. I know Tucker House we just saw come in, and I am very aware of, you know, some of the services like the community child care and the Boys and Girls Club, the service they provide to the community. Just throwing it out there as a possible suggestion, to at least get us to, not really from a business perspective, but just from any dollars that we can save, if they're capable, might just be worth looking into.
Madam Chairman, there's a question.
What I would like to say about the nonprofits who are in that building, most of them are only ran by grants. And it doesn't mean that those grants are coming every year, or if they're gonna, they know how much they're gonna get. And I can tell you that we have been approved for a grant earlier this year, and we still have not received that grant. 2 grants, one from the state of Tennessee, Tennessee Housing Development Agency, and our own HUD point of contact out of Ohio. Well, we're still waiting. We're still waiting on money. And so, so sometimes, and depending on, from what I have seen, even with our own state housing finance agency, they get millions of dollars. They just got money, millions of dollars for rent. They approved us to be a part of that program. Have we got that money yet? Nope. We can't even serve the community when it comes to, rental assistance. I had a guy that came in today. He is $18,000 behind on his mortgage. He was working. And you know what people tell me? They say, I'm sorry, I've never been in this position before. So we are not only seeing low to moderate income earners who come through those doors, we're seeing people who had money before. You've been millionaires. This guy and his wife both had their own business. It was a gas station. They lost it. $600,000 he's in the hole. So spent a whole hour and a half working with him, talking to his mortgage company, creating a mortgage assistance package with him, and he just got food stamps and he just applied for unemployment. Guys, to even ask most of these nonprofits to increase in anything, I'm telling you, it is not that easy. And we're not GraceWorks, we're not, some of the other agencies. That's why they're able to pay so much. Because they're getting a substantial amount of money, and most of the time they're getting money from outside the community. Well, that's not happening with everybody. That's not happening with all the nonprofits who are there. So to look at increasing, I'm telling you, that building is gonna be empty. And so we are no longer a community serving community. We're just a community serving nobody.
Madam Chairman, let me follow up. Just now thought for Commissioner, if you don't mind, the public health, the question you asked about the state paying their freight, Commissioner?
I'm sorry.
The state
Yeah.
asking them to pay. I should bring it to your attention that the state didn't build the building that the public health building is located in.
Did or didn't?
Did not.
Right.
So the state doesn't always, I'm not sure how the arrangements are in the AG office right now, maybe Jeff. Oftentimes, the state agencies expect that of their local communities to support that. I don't know if that makes you feel any better,
No, not really.
but it's where we are, Jeff.
Well, there's a long history here where you have the state and the county have tried to work to get services to the county. We're obligated to have some services, They're obligated to provide some, but they don't have to be here and they don't have to prioritize us. And the easier we make it, the easier it is to get those services. So it could be inspections, it could be physicians, it could be nurses, it could be any number of things that we have to work with the state on. And many times we have to shoulder some of the burden to get those services to Williamson County because we didn't have them. Or that
So
they're
you're saying
slower because we don't have the number of resources, or they don't have a site where they can base their citizens. If we go to them and say, you have to pay, they can say no. They can take their employees and move them to Davidson County and then not have a presence here. Then we have to work through the Davidson County office to try to get those kind of certifications and inspections. That's what they can do. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying that's the idea, was we've cooperated to keep them here to focus on our businesses instead of lumping us together with other counties where we won't have priority. Now, whether that's right or wrong is y'all's
Yeah,
decision,
I guess
but that's where it came from.
I'm just naive. I figured the state has a duty to fulfill services, and
No,
so,
they provide the service, but they can provide them out of Nashville, and they can say, you're lumped in with 4 other counties, and it's gonna take you 60 days to get an inspection. Or we can provide space, and they can provide the employee, and we get the inspections quicker. That's the nature of the beast.
I appreciate the explanation, because that does,
It's not,
I believe
Not
that's
something I'm in
exactly
favor of, it's
accurate
just
what
real
you're
life.
describing, and I just naively thought that the state would do the right thing and pay their own way. I mean, it's all our tax money, why can't the state take care of it? They've got more money than we do.
and they can say that it increases their costs, so they'll increase their taxes. I mean, it's one pocket in, one pocket out to some degree. So we've just tried to make it easier in order to get these services here.
Got it.
All right, we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Resolution 11-2421, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a lease agreement with the Tennessee Resilience Project for lease of space in the County Community Services Building.
Move to approve.
Second.
You want to speak on this one also?
Yes, Madam Chair. Basically, the mission of this organization is to empower individuals to navigate and narrate their own story of success through connections. That's their primary mission. They have one space that was available, and they've requested that space, the smallest one we've got, which is Suite 116. It's 126 square feet.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Late file this is one we're gonna pull. The 11-2433, because it does not have anything financial impact, so we're not doing it in the budget committee. Late file resolution 11-2435, resolution authorizing a grant contract between Williamson County, Tennessee and the state of Tennessee Opioid Abatement Council on behalf of the Williamson County Veterans Treatment Court and amending the 24-25 Veterans Treatment Court budget by $120,677 revenue to come from grant funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
And this is actually state opioid funds, and Tracy's actually here, she's the grant.
Good evening. Thank you all for having our resolution included in this meeting. This is the state opioid abatement grant. We were actually awarded this grant in April of this year, but the contract was just provided to us last week. So we would love to get this going and spend this money. This money is to support service dogs for the participants in our program. It's also to support the Dave Ramsey program to come in and work with our veterans and help them with their budgets, and also to provide trauma treatment through on-site. And so it would be great if we could push this through. We're also going to hire a peer support specialist for our team.
Has anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Late file resolution number 112436, resolution authorizing a grant contract between Williamson County, Tennessee and the state of Tennessee, Tennessee Corrections Institute on behalf of the Williamson County Sheriff's Office and amending the 2024-25 Sheriff's Office budget by $14,998.50 revenues to come from grant funds.
Move to approve.
Second. Can I get you, sheriff has deserted us, but you ought to speak on
This
this.
is for training equipment.
Yes, just for that.
Does anybody have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against passes.
I believe tax study was starting at 5:30 is why we lost. some.
Oh, okay. Phoebe, do you want to go over this, the, policies and procedures?
Yes, please. What you have in front of you is our current general capital asset policies and procedures. It was originally, as you can see, written in 2007. The last update was 2011. The Government Accounting Standards Board has passed Statement 96, which it gives guidance on how to account for and capitalize what they call subscription-based information technology. SPIDAs is what it's short for. So you'll see it referred to as SPIDAs throughout. We are just trying to get that verbiage into our policy. It's been brought to our attention through county audit and the comptroller's office that we are accounting for those properly, but we have not updated our policy. So if you will see on page 1, the only change to this policy is in red, and that is just outlining subscription-based information technology. On page 2, under capitalization, it will note that our SPIDAs will be under a right-to-use asset, will be capitalized as such. The next update is on page 6. On page 6, we are also adding a SPIDA into our tangible assets for our threshold of $100,000. The other thing that we are adding there, the bottom of that section, is to also address the capitalization of assets that are purchased in the aggregate. So the table shows if we purchase one piece of equipment, it's $10,000 or more, we capitalize it. This is saying we may make a large purchase of like-kind assets of equipment, and instead of, it may not equate to 10,000. So in the aggregate, if we purchase a large group, then this is also capitalizing those. 100,000 for Williamson County and 300,000 for the Board of Education. So again, those are just trying to update the policy so that it reflects what we're actually currently doing.
Do we need to vote on this, Jeff? Or do we get it on the floor motion? Can I get a motion,
Move
please?
to approve. The updates.
Has anybody got any more questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 5-0. Any other business for budget? Mayor, is there anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Motion, yeah, move to adjourn, second. Good night.
Adjourn.